Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode 45 of The Complete Game. I'm your host, Curt Schilling, truly remote this time. And he is your co host, Garrick Schilling. What's up, G?
Not much. We're playing a road game today. My
Yeah,
dad
we're
is
on
on
the
the
road
road.
today. I'm out of state and the next couple shows will be done this way. I'm using on my phone, so apologies for any issues. But here we are. We're at the deadline. Things are heating up. Three deals that we talked about the other day, I think, and then three pretty quick ones this afternoon. Not only surprised about the Braves deal that they got Eric Fed from St. Louis. I didn't see them as buyers. I look at that as potentially a trade and flip guy. They might have found out someone else had interest in him and brought him on board to move in another deal, or as an organization. And I say this, and I mean this in I'm trying not to sound. I don't want the braggadocio to be high, but I guess I look at it like if I'm your pitching coach, or if I'm the pitching coach of a team acquiring a pitcher, then I'm acquiring a guy because I know I'm going to make him a lot better, right? And it's very much in the way I'm looking at the Alcantara stuff. He's had some outings where he's kind of looked like his old self. That hasn't happened yet. There's a couple pitchers on the Marlins who are talking about dealing, but I'm looking at it as like, if I'm the pitching coach for your team, you bring in this kid who is a former Cy Young Award winner, trying to right the ship after Tommy John. You give me a month, and he's right back to his former self, if not better. And so I think that kind of, you know, you're looking at a lot of teams that are trying to make some deals and maybe give away a mid-level prospect to get a Dylan Cease or a Mackenzie Gore, and I just don't see that happening if you have the right pitching development process in your organization. And then what? Ahmed Rosario went to the Yankees, building some infield depth. They're having nightmarishly uh, consistent problems defensively. I think the error I saw our boy make yesterday. Oh my gosh, that's Chisholm, was their 10th error in 9 games and like their 19th in. So and that's the kind of baseball. I always talk about October baseball where swinging this pitching wins. But one of the things you can't do in October is give a team more than 27 outs. That will kill you. And you think back to go back a ways, and there's been other instances, but the Tigers playing the Cardinals, fielding their pitchers couldn't field their position, or you had the Nelson Cruz right field debacle against the Cardinals as well, where it turned in things like that in
David
October
Freeze.
kill you.
Yeah.
So they're trying to shore up their defense. And then what
I
was
mean,
it? The other
also from your personal experience, one of the big uh, positives of the Nomar deal was getting
right,
better defensively in the second half.
right, exactly right. Having Orlando Cabrera come in and Doug Mankiewicz and Dave Roberts turned our defense into a strength rather than because it wasn't good. We had Millar at first base, and Kevin was, for the most part, a DH trying to play first. And Nomar was sabermetrically, he was never the shortstop. I think a lot of people thought he was. But Orlando was a premier guy, and Dave Roberts was Dave Roberts. I mean, he gets the ball anywhere, and all three of those things solidified us fundamentally. But one of them, in Orlando, you added a bat. In Roberts, you added wheels, and in Minkiewicz, you added a Gold Glove level first baseman. So, those are the kind of deals that end up making very big uh, impacts behind the scenes. And we're not a or just to jump off, since we're on the trade deadline, we're not a news breaking organization, but apparently I just heard that Royals extended Seth Lugo. Oh, unless it's yeah, there you go.
Came
Uh,
up for me.
yeah. So, and those, depending on the deal, I don't know the parameters of the deal right now, but that might be a situation where they got him to a good contract, or they got him to a contract that now makes him way more attractive because he's under team control for multiple years, right? um and I don't know that the Royals, what their thinking is about where they are, um but they do have a good young nucleus. So I'd be curious to know, do you have the parameters of that deal?
Look, I'm reading it right now.
Okay.
Extension is
Um,
worth 46 million over 2 years.
wow. Yeah. So that's not a. that's not a trade. That's not a. I got him at a discount. We can trade him kind of a deal for a guy like
Yeah.
Seth Lugo. So excuse me,
Okay.
but good for them.
That's
Great
why
baseball
that's a
city.
piece off the board though
Right,
for our
right.
talks.
Well,
So
what it does is it kicks up the asking price a little bit more for everybody,
yep, sets the
right? I
market
mean,
right now.
if you're, you know, look at teams like Detroit in the sense that you want a guy to get behind Skubal to be your 1-2, but you also have a 7.5 game lead or 8 game, whatever the lead is. You want to make sure that you solidify that rotation so you don't go 1-9 over 10 games again. So you're looking for that fourth or fifth guy. You're looking for, not the McKenzie Gore or the Alcantara guy. And I got to tell you, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I have, I think that unless somebody shocks us, I think Alcantara ends up in New York. Either or.
Either or, I was gonna say I could
Yeah,
see him on the
yeah.
Mets too,
Yep,
if that wasn't the
yep.
one you were talking about.
And that's the guy, like I told you before, and you know how I feel about teaching, coaching. I look at that as if I'm with one of those teams and I'm their pitching coach. You bring us in this kid and young man, and not only have you got a guy who I'm going to have ready by the playoffs, but you've got club control multiple years, and he's going to be his Cy Young self again. And so that becomes, yeah, you know what? Maybe I will throw in that top level prospect to make that deal happen because it's not a coin flip. A lot of teams are wondering who do we have? Who are we getting? Are we getting the injured guy finding his way back? Because he's had a couple starts where he's looked like himself. And when he looks like himself, he's unhittable. And my argument is I think I'm the kind of coach, or you want the kind of coach who's going to bring him back to himself. And I think if you're confident in that, you make that deal. I don't care who you are, because that's a second guy in October that gives you the vaunted 1-2 punch of you could be up 2-0 even if you start on the road.
Yep, at his best for sure. One game I wanted to touch on happened yesterday. The Orioles dashed the Rockies 18 nothing with 12 different guys recording a hit. Every guy that took a swing got a hit that day, and 5 guys had multiple hits. 18 hits for 18 runs. I just wanted to talk because I didn't even really think about it until I was looking at the box score, but I feel like we had a question a couple weeks ago about a lot more like frequency of these 15, 20, 32 run games, because I was thinking about that Texas, I think it was the Rangers and the Orioles at Camden Yards, and it was like 32 to 15 or something ridiculous like that. Is that, I never thought about Camden Yards as like a hitter's park, but
It is. It is. It's the short porch and left makes it a nightmarish park for well-rounded hitters, not nightmarish, great for hitters, because guys like Nick Kurtz, who you saw what he did in Houston the other day, they don't have to center a ball to hit an opposite field home run. And they don't. He didn't. And the ball he hit to right, he crushed, but he hit 3 fly balls to left. Obviously decent, but it's warm. The weather heats up. Everybody knows the ball flies more. I always had to be very aware as a fly ball pitcher getting into the dog days of summer that I had to be more precise. You just had to be more. It's a demand. But I'm going to go back to what I said, and I've been saying all year long. The Major League pitching is broke. And as a result of it being as broken as it is, that's why you're seeing, and I would bet we're seeing more of those games. I haven't looked at the data, but I feel like there are far more of those 18 to nothing games than there have been in the past. And the only thing I can tell you is,
I would say that the way you could tell that that's true without looking at any stats is how many position players have you seen pitch since you retired versus when you
yeah,
played?
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's
yeah,
ridiculous. It's not
well,
even a
and
gimmick anymore.
the other thing is, and I hate to harp on this because I feel bad for the guys, but it's just further emphasis that Colorado and the pitching in Colorado is so broken that without a complete reset, it's just not going to get fixed. There's got to be a philosophical change fundamentally from scouting to drafting to developing to and it's my approach is very unconventional in many ways, but I don't think you're going to find Colorado pitching October at an October level until you do that. And I'm not talking about 10-year revamp. I'm talking about something, it'll take a couple years, but it has to happen because that I mean, people don't realize Denver's a great baseball city, and they draw a lot of fans, and they're very passionate baseball fans, and the product is horrific. Heads have to roll for that, and they're not, and that's unfortunate because I want to see. I think the game is better. Colorado, if you look at it, I saw somebody draw a line on the map around like the western central United States, and it was over like 7 or 8 states. There's literally one baseball team in Major League Baseball in that area.
Radius.
I mean,
Yeah.
right, and it's also not a very populated area, but baseball is big in Denver, and baseball's not served with the Colorado Rockies being a bad team.
Yeah, I mean we've said it before on the show too. Like you look at the other Denver sports teams when they've been good, their teams and their fans show out. Um, one more thing, because we talked about it last episode too, guys we could see moving. This is a question with a follow-up question. One, uh, how big of an acquisition is like a closer, like end game reliever? In terms of like we've talked about big bat, we've talked about 3, 4, even a second guy in the rotation going into October or wild card push. Is a bullpen reliever really that big of a acquisition, or?
Well, again, dating myself, go back to 2004. Take Keith Folk off the Red Sox, right? Take Mariano Rivera off any of those teams in the late '90s of the Yankees. Um,
Yeah, but I'm saying an
right,
acquisition right now.
right.
Like, is
No,
that
no, but
anything
I'm
to make you, if you're a fan of one of these teams that's two and a
sure
half
it is.
games out, go, okay, like we're
Yeah, well,
serious?
absolutely. Because what have I told you, and what have you experienced? You go out Sunday night and lose 18-0. Okay, we sucked. It was a bad night. You go out Sunday night and blow a 4-0 lead in the ninth inning and lose 5-4. That sticks. Those games stick. And now, games on August 3rd and July 27th are every bit as valuable as games on April 5th and September 19th. It's just that the focus changes. Everybody thinks, there is no and I always see fans do it, but players don't think that way in the sense that, oh my God, this is the win that's going to turn us around. That generally doesn't happen. You go back all the way again to '04 and A-Rod and Tech get in the fight, and everybody thinks, oh my God, that was the game that turned it around. It was the beginning of the second half of that season for us. We played five. We were 5-5 over the next 10 games. We didn't suddenly go 10-0, but we found ourselves. It, if you remember that game, everybody remembers that game for the fight. Nobody ever talks about the fact that Billy Miller walked off Mariano Rivera in the bottom of the ninth of that game. He had a walk-off home run off Mariano Rivera. I mean, and so everybody thought, oh my God, this is it. Well, it wasn't, but it ended up being one of those things. Those late inning losses are devastating. And, that's why I look at a guy like Helsley or Iglesias from Atlanta.
Well, and
You'll
for
see,
the other side, like you guys having those late inning comebacks, like it's the complete opposite. It's all
right,
momentum the other way. That we're
right.
playing with free house money.
Right. But the lack of true pitchers in the game has taken its toll on closing as well. Like I said, I keep talking about the Suarez outing in San Diego, but I've seen more of that this year than I think I've ever seen, which is the reliever coming in, not being able to throw strikes or walking to Devin Williams at the beginning of this year. What a nightmare that was. He's found himself, and I think he's fine. But everybody's always looking for relievers, and you're not looking for a reliever to deepen your bullpen. You're looking for a reliever to get you into that what I talked about, that playoff mix. You go into the bullpen, your playoff in the bullpen is 4 or 5 guys. Period. You're trying
Deep.
to add
Yeah.
an arm that fits into that 4-man bullpen rotation in October, and those guys are expensive. It's why the de-emphasis on starting pitching, which has translated into fewer starting innings pitched, has put more emphasis and more innings on the bullpen. Your bullpen has to be deeper, and you can't run starters out there for 5 1/3 and 6 1/3 and 104 pitches, and all of a sudden expect 8 out of them in October. It just doesn't translate. That's why I said sabermetrics doesn't win in October. That's why I think you're going to see maybe a little higher price being paid for. I think Atlanta may move Iglesias because I think even though people look for a closer, I think everybody in baseball believes I can rebuild a bullpen. I don't care what we have. And there's still traditional roles, but I can go find a closer, and somebody will step up, and with all these and that's what they say. We've got an organization of 10 guys that throw 99 miles an hour. One of them will find his way into being a closer. Well, that doesn't just naturally happen.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
mindset. as far
Yeah,
as I
yeah,
remember for most
absolutely.
guys.
So, but I'm always focused on the pitching aspects of this part of the year, and like I said, the name that keeps jumping out at me, the one, and I think we mentioned him first, was Mackenzie Gore. I think that is a guy who ends up drawing, well, I think he's drawn an enormous amount of interest. And, with the turnover in Washington and the general manager being a new guy, that's the kind of deal you make a splash with, because you get maximum return, or you blow it, and you hold on to them, and then you deal them at the debt trade at the winter meetings or something. But I think there's always an arm that moves that you never see coming. That team that's 7 out that people aren't sure if they're buyers or sellers, uh, you know, something like that. I mean, in Arizona, that I don't know why, but Zach Allen's name has been front and center, as somebody that I don't know, and I think that's more the writers wishing it to be true than it being true. But
It seems like that they're pushing him or Merrill Kelly every day. Merrill Kelly seems to be the name that's more and more
well,
often.
and but see, you and I both know that's what you're reading,
Yeah, that's what
right?
I'm saying.
That's
Like
right,
that's
right.
what I
That's
mean
what you're
pushing.
reading. Right, because you see writers will say this guy would be the perfect fit here. Well, he would be the perfect fit there because in your fantasy baseball team, that he has better stats than the guy currently at that position. That doesn't account for the personality mix, the family situation, the personality of the guy, all the things you have to look at. But you know, is Zach
He did
Gallen the?
get beat by Skeens today, by the way, which is a tough
Yeah,
time to beat.
yeah, I know. Skeens. Seems like every game Paul Skeens pitches, he's either getting shut out or shutting somebody out.
Yeah, he
Um,
got some run
well,
support today, though. Thankfully
yeah,
for him.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I can't come up with a guy that under the radar. I think, oh my God, if this guy got traded, I'd be shocked. But there are teams out there with number ones who are 5 to 7 games out, and they could be in their minds, we're total sellers. I know, that I just heard the Indians took Chase and somebody else off the market.
Quan,
They're not one of their starters. I think it was. I can't remember.
Stephen Quan.
I know it was a starting pitcher. I think.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
I,
because I've seen his name a lot too. That
right,
feels
right,
like pushing out there because I mean he's
right.
awesome.
And I think he ends up potentially being a guy who will be maybe an undervalued or underrated acquisition. He's a
He would
really good baseball
yeah,
player.
I would love to if I'm
Yep,
GM. That is a
yep,
absolute fire wagon
yep,
pickup at the deadline.
yep. So that's going to be interesting to see. But right now, what you're hoping for is your team, because there's a piece of this that always factors into the player side thing. I'm watching my team at the deadline. What are we doing? Are we trying to get somebody? Because I can be mad if we don't get somebody, but I can't be mad if we try and get people and don't get them. What I don't want is a team. I don't want to be 3 games out and not hear that my team is actively involved in trying to do something. Now, the challenge as a player is when you come out and say we need to go do this, you're basically saying we need to go get this guy to replace one of my teammates, right? And so I was one of those guys. I was guilty of that in that sense. Like I never thought about, oh my God, he's going to take this guy's place. I thought about, oh my gosh, if we can get Andy Pettit in 1997, that's going to be awesome. But you're doing that at the expense of a teammate sometimes, and I don't think that that's something that a lot of guys factor in. So I think it's going to be a massively active deadline. I don't think it's going to be all talk. I think there's going to be a lot of moves made in a very short period of time. I think there's going to be some major names moved. The one I keep holding out for, and I swear, I don't know why, but I feel like it's legitimately a possibility, is Trout. I
Yeah,
really think
that'd be fun.
that if LA want, because Artie Moreno's not a guy who builds. He doesn't
He got
rebuild.
his 1,000th RBI by the way. We can mention that.
He doesn't rebuild. Artie Moreno kind of retools. But I don't know that they're in that position given their division. And I know you saw, I don't know if you saw it, but Trout's first at bat in Philly, standing ovation, welcome home, New Jersey kid. And as a player, those things, they
They eat
matter. They
away.
mean something. They mean
You
something
went to
though. I mean,
Arizona for a reason.
yeah, yeah. And it was one of the best experiences of my life.
He
And
didn't grow up there, but it's like
well, no, but
what
I
he roots
did. I mean,
for,
right,
and
right, right. Yep.
so
So
uh,
I really think I really, because I think that the NOLA news has been good. apparently he's feeling good. He's throwing well on his
Yeah,
rehab.
do
He'll
a
be
rehab
back
start
soon. He'll
like 3 or
have
4 days ago.
he'll have enough time to get his feet under him and be ready for the postseason. So it's gonna, and Suarez and Lazard. I mean, their rotation is lights
Legit.
out. I think they're going to be. I could very comfortably see Iglesias or Helsley being their biggest or loudest acquisition, because they do need to solidify that bullpen.
When I started talking about closers and asking about closer reliever acquisitions at the deadline, I was kind of leaning towards Felix Bautista when we were talking about the Orioles, because he was such a big part of that team when they were had the surprise run last year, and it just was
But he's
wondering your
back.
thoughts on that.
He's back, right? He's back to
Yeah,
being who he was before he got hurt, and that. But I've seen those are the ones that you're kind of nervous about, because I've seen closers come to another team and just not be able to close the game out.
yeah.
That's a
Well, the
nightmare.
reason I asked was the follow up was going to be, do you think that and I don't know Felix Bautista, but is that a guy where you're willing to transition on a team where obviously the Orioles are not making playoffs this year,
Right.
but if a New York Mets calls and they obviously have Edwin Diaz as a closer, or do you think he's a guy that's, or someone like that of that ilk that is a solidified closer would be willing to move back to a setup man position or something like that to be a part of a playoff run?
Yeah. That really, that's where you count on. And I know this is sorry about that. I know this is something we've talked about, but this is where your general managers and your player personnel people are talking to the clubhouse guys, and they're talking to your agents. You're trying to get a feel for a guy like, hey, is Felix Batista going to be okay if he comes here and he's not our closer and he's
Okay.
pitching in the eighth inning? And
That was kind of
generally,
my question.
right, and generally you don't want the guy that will come there and be pissed because he's not your closer. I want you to want to be my closer, but I want you to want to be on a pennant winning team more than
Yeah, we
anything.
that can't be a storyline if we're going to be.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. And he's insurance, So, but yeah, you'll see those guys will generally draw more interest, obviously, because everybody's looking at the bullpen. And there isn't a team in the playoff hunt that isn't looking for a reliever. They're not all looking for first baseman. They're not all looking for a catcher or a right-handed bat, but they're all looking for relievers. So that's the market generally, that those want to hit it earlier than everybody else, but the teams with the assets want to wait as long as they can.
All right. And then we briefly, you touched on him for a second. The Big Amish. Do you know why that's Nick Kurtz's nickname?
I can guess, but I don't know why.
So born in Lancaster, PA, the
There you
biggest
go.
Amish community in America. Before he moved to Tennessee in high school, which is funny. I don't know if you watched, you saw him doing his highlight, churning butter.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And just a couple of fun facts from his 6 for 6 performance on Friday night: 4 home runs, double, single, 6 runs, 8 RBIs, 3 opposite field home runs for a lefty. If you haven't watched it, it's insane. I'll link it here. But the 20th guy in MLB history to have 4 home runs in one game, the first rookie and the youngest on the 4 home run list. He's the second MLB player in history to have 6 hits in one game that he also had 4 home runs in. Sean Green of the LA
Yep.
Dodgers is the other one.
Yep.
I
I
was gonna say,
remember
do you
that one.
remember that?
Yep.
I mean,
And that,
that is I'll remember this. I've tried to put
yeah.
it in perspective the last 2 days since it happened, and I'm like, no, I've thought about it every day.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
popped into
Yeah.
my brain. That's pretty insane. That was a
It's
cool night for that
surreal. It
guy.
really is surreal. 19 total bases, and he's just the first thing I think of when I see him is a big corn-fed Nebraska kid. Like, he's
Yeah,
just a beast.
big Amish.
Um. Yep. Just a beast of a kid. Big, brawny. But uh you know that's the game, and again, I'm not taking any credit away from him, but you have to have a pitching staff of guys that can't execute very well for somebody to do that in one game.
By the way, he,
um
he maybe should have had 5 home runs.
oh no, yeah, that he might have hit the only place in baseball that fifth one wouldn't have been a home run. But yeah, no, that was special and remarkable, and I'm glad. I love it when stuff like, and not as a pitcher, but when stuff like that
Yeah.
happens. But and I don't want to say I saw Gary or Barry Bonds talking about Otani the other day, and he was talking about in my day, you didn't hit 3 home runs in a game, and they got we didn't. Guys didn't throw at people nearly as much when I was playing and when he played as they did before that. And Barry had body armor, right? He had that huge elbow pad and all those other things. But those days are happening more frequently in the modern times because pitching has changed. Guys don't get, and I never drilled a guy because he hit a home run. That wasn't, you don't, I never thought that
Was
was
that
appropriate.
was that on
You know?
All the Smoke? Do you remember with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, the NBA players?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I'd never seen Barry do an interview or a podcast. I started
yeah.
that. And in the first like 5 minutes, he's like, "Don't call me the goat." He's like, "Don't call me the goat," and I'm like, "Huh, that's a
Yeah.
different Barry than I remember seeing
Oh,
when I
yeah.
was a
Well,
little
yeah,
kid."
everybody, yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things I've noticed is I feel like I'm the same exact person I was when I played. And everybody, a lot of guys I play with are no, like Randy Johnson, like Mr.
Well,
Personable, you
well,
know?
I mean, to be fair, like everyone goes through their own
Oh,
changes
yeah.
in
No,
course of
no,
life. You know,
absolutely.
you've had
Yep.
you've had differences, but it was just such a. And again, I don't know Barry's personal life. I don't know. I didn't know him well when I was 7 years old either. But the stark difference from the last time I had an interaction with that guy to now, it was just very
Yeah.
funny and jarring.
Yep.
I also that you brought up RJ. Did you see what
Yes.
Willow, his daughter, did to him?
I did see that, and I was
I thought
laughing.
about doing it to you on here, but I was like, you've seen it by now.
Right, I saw it, and like, it was so funny for me to watch him try and avoid
Because
talking about how good he was.
he
Like,
knows he's being filmed and he doesn't. But finally, he's like, I am an MLB Hall of Fame
right,
baseball
yeah,
player.
I was athletic enough to be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, I guess.
I have many leather. He sounds very Ron Burgundy like,
Yes, yes,
which
yep,
is awesome.
yep,
And very, very good job of her to not let him get out of it because he tried to
yep,
duck it very,
yep.
very
It was
well.
no, it was really well
Some
done. That
good
was funny.
PR training from Randy coming in there.
I loved it.
Yeah, that was great.
What do
And
you
then
got?
just one last thing on the Nick Kurtz. It's the ninth time in A's franchise history a player had 8+ RBIs in a game. Still wasn't the record, though. That record belongs to Reggie Jackson, who had a 10 RBI game at one point, which is
Wow.
just
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then I got a teammate for you if you want to guess the teammate. All right. I guess your teammate, we got 5 clues ranging from vague to most obvious. The first clue, a former teammate of my dad's here. I played 17 seasons and was on 8 different MLB franchises. Bit of a journeyman, but stuck around for quite some time.
Pass.
Although only a one-time All-Star during the '95 season for the Cincinnati Reds, I stuck around for long enough to capture a World Series title with you as a member of the Diamondbacks. I'm
Eight
glad.
teams.
I'm glad you didn't get it right away because that I thought I was maybe giving a little too much there, but that seems like
Greg
the
Swindell.
right amount of spice. Although not the best year of my career, I was one of 4 guys on the 2001 Diamondbacks to belt over 25 home runs, hitting my career best 33 in just 126 games that season.
Is that Reggie Sanders?
That is Reggie Sanders.
One of my favorite human beings of all time.
I paired both with and against you in my 64 playoff games. We were opponents when I joined former teammate of ours, Tony Womack in St. Louis. And then the last clue, despite not appearing in Game 7 and going 0 for 12 in New York in the 2001 World Series, I finished a respectable 7 for 23, hitting .304 during the Snakes' 0-1 title win.
Yeah, he was. So Reggie and I we were close, and his great, phenomenal teammate, great guy, phenomenal, really a really good player. We used to have this thing where I would just say preposterous stuff to him, just ragging him to like beyond, and his response was always right, right, right. So every time I've seen him since then, we don't even say hello. He looks at me and goes, right, right, right. But an all-time great human being. All-time great human being.
Inside jokes, love to be a part of one someday.
Yes, yes.
But yeah,
Oh.
that's
All
all we
right,
got.
so it's Sunday, so I will talk with you on Tuesday, and you have a good couple days. Take care of that. For those of you who don't know, we're getting ready to have, well, not we, Garrig is getting ready to have his first child.
If you can't tell.
Nope. Who's his wife is healthy and doing well, Danielle, and tell her we said hello. I love you, and I'll catch up with you on Tuesday, Bob.
Will do. Thanks,
All
Doug.
right, love you. All
Love
right,
you too.
bye.